9 spine-chilling tales of sinister psychopaths, revealed secrets, unexplained horrors await. The wind howled ferociously, a jagged scream of chaos whipping through the quiet suburb of Ohio. Rain pelted against Sarah's windows, rhythmically like the anxious drumming of her heart as the familiar comforts of home dissolved into unsettling shadows. It was supposed to be a night like any other: dinner, homework with the kids, and a story before bed, but as her phone rang, that illusion shattered. "Hello? This is the health department." The voice was calm, chillingly measured, but the words slashed through her like a knife. "There's a psychopathic predator loose in your neighborhood. Lock your doors and stay inside." A shiver crawled down her spine. Was this a cruel prank? She hung up, attempting to dismiss the dread clawing at her insides. But as the hours dragged on, the storm raged more fiercely. Shadows flitted across the darkened rooms. The only source of light barely broke through the gloom: her children's sleepy breath, the occasional creak of the floorboards. She tried to focus on the normalcy, but it felt suffocating. Her neighbor, Tom, stood outside on his porch, rain-soaked and eerily still, his gaze boring into her windows. She felt goosebumps rise along her arms. He was usually harmless, joking with her kids, lending a hand, but tonight? Tonight, he was something else. At the grocery store the next day, nervous chatter buzzed among other parents. "Did you hear about the calls? We all got them." Fear laced their voices, and uncertainty slithered into her heart. When she approached the police, their dismissive smirks only coiled her tension tighter. "Just a few isolated incidents, ma'am," they replied, their words riddled with skepticism. The community, once a blanket of comfort, now felt like a quilt stitched together with threads of fear and mistrust. As night after night unfolded, the sense of dread seeped deeper into her bones. Stories of a local legend flared in her mind like the flares of lightning outside: an ancient spirit, betrayed, driven to madness in her very neighborhood. Could that spirit be awakening? Had she missed something in her past, connections overlooked that now turned sinister? A damp chill gripped her as she connected these nagging thoughts. Was Tom truly the monster lurking, or was it someone else entirely? Determination ignited within her. That very night, she moved through her home, her hands trembling as she set up traps, her heart racing in the suffocating silence. Could she keep her children safe from dangers so insidiously familiar? Each creak of the house made her jump, and every rustle outside sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then came the thunder, crashing like judgment. When her phone rang again, her heart seized. The voice on the other end? Low and gravelly, dripping with malice. "You should be more careful, Sarah." The familiar rhythm of her life hung on a knife's edge, and confusion morphed into raw terror. She rushed to the windows, fear crawling over her skin like an icy snake. As she peered into the stormy night, an unsettling thought clutched at her: the predator might not be prowling outside, they might already be inside. She turned, shadows engulfing her home, sweat pooling at her temples. But all the light, all the sanity, seemed to flee, leaving behind only a chilling whisper: did she truly know the demons disguised as friends? In the oppressive silence that engulfed her, Sarah's breath quickened. Each heartbeat sounded like a drumroll, echoing in her ears as she glanced through the dimly lit rooms of her home. Panic closed in around her, a suffocating grip that made it hard to think. The trap she had set, a simple arrangement of objects on the floor, would only serve as a warning if anyone disturbed it. But was it enough? She stole a glance at her children, blissfully unaware in their beds, their innocent faces illuminated by the ghostly glow of the nightlight. A twinge of guilt flared within her. Was she being irrational? The police had laughed her off, her friends had shrugged away her concerns. What did she know? Had she gone too far with this fear? But the lurking dread told her otherwise. The phone call hung in her mind like a dark cloud, and she wrestled with the thought who could have made it. Slowly, she crept to the living room, gripping a heavy flashlight like a weapon. As she edged closer to the front window, she couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. The shadows outside twisted as the wind howled again, making the trees sway and creak. Suddenly, a loud thud reverberated from the back of the house. Instinct had her heart in her throat in an instant. She had to check. Gathering every ounce of courage, she slowly turned the handle of the back door, the metal icy against her palm. What if it was Tom? Or someone even worse? Outside, the rain battered the ground in sheets, turning the earth into a muddy recipe of despair. She flicked on the flashlight, slicing through the darkness. The beam wavered as uncertainty gripped her legs. Is someone there? She called out, her voice shaking. Nothing answered. That's when she saw a flash of movement in the corner of her eye. A figure darted behind a tree. Panic surged through her, and she swung the light towards the spot, but all that greeted her was steady rain falling into the puddles, rippling quietly. It didn't matter. This felt wrong. She hurried back inside, locking the door behind her with trembling hands. She took a breath, trying to push away the bile rising in her throat. Just when she thought she was safe, she heard the unmistakable creaking of the floorboards above her. Her heart raced again as she realized the noise wasn't just distant thunder or the house settling. Someone was upstairs, with the icy tendrils of fear wrapping around her throat. Sarah tiptoed toward the staircase, every step twisting her stomach into knots. The only sound that filled the air was the thunderous thump of her heart. She reached the bottom of the stairs, listening intently. "Mom?" A small voice called from the top. It was her daughter. Relief washed over her, but confusion followed swiftly. Why hadn't she heard her come down? "Stay where you are. I'm coming." Sarah shouted back, choking on her words as she climbed the steps, desperate to see her daughter. Halfway up, the noise stopped. The silence felt too thick, as if it were pressing down on her. And then a voice, low, male, polite yet icy. Don't wake her, Sarah." She turned, but it was too late. The shining light from her flashlight splashed across an unfamiliar figure, tall and menacing, contemplation flickering in his eyes. "Who are you?" Sarah squeaked, terror gripping her. The smile that stretched across his face sent a wave of nausea through her. "I came to play." With those words, dread settled deeper into her bones. Why had she never locked the window? And with her heart drumming louder than the storm, she realized the true nightmare was just beginning. The figure's smile widened, revealing teeth that glinted with a sinister sheen. Sarah's breath hitched as adrenaline surged through her body. The flashlight flickered, casting dancing shadows that only intensified her fear. He stepped closer, and the light illuminated his features: a sharp jaw, sunken eyes, and a wild mane of hair that dripped with rain. He looked as if he had stepped out of a nightmare, the kind that makes you question your own mind. "What's your name?" she managed to whisper, sounding small and futile against the weight of his presence. "Names are just labels, darling," he replied, his voice smooth yet laced with malice. "But you can call me Peter for now." She felt the chills creep along her spine. Why was he here? What did he want? Ignoring the rise of bile in her throat, she forced herself to think. The trap downstairs, it wasn't meant for him. No, it had been for intruders, for those who lurked in the shadows. "I don't want any trouble," Sarah said, a hint of desperation creeping into her tone. "I'll call the police." He chuckled, a sound dripping with mockery. "Oh, Sarah, you're already too late for that. They're busy with other matters. Besides," he gestured upward, "you don't want to wake your precious little girl now, do you?" The thought struck her like a cold slap. Her daughter. What if he had plans for her too? She quickly shifted her weight, angling her body towards the stairs, ready to shout for her child. "Don't do it," Peter warned, his tone shifting ominously. "You wouldn't want to push me, would you?" The threat lingered in the air like a coiled snake, ready to strike. Sarah's mind raced as she considered her options. She couldn't allow this man to harm her daughter. "What do you want?" she demanded, trying to regain control. "Just leave, please. You can take whatever you want." He stepped forward again, the beam of her flashlight trembling in his face. "How generous of you to offer. But I came for something much more entertaining." His eyes narrowed, glinting with an unsettling mix of hunger and amusement. "I want to play a game, Sarah. A little test of survival, you could say." Her heart raced. "What kind of game?" "Oh, a classic. You'll have to follow the rules carefully, and perhaps we'll both have fun." She swallowed hard, every instinct screaming at her to turn and flee. "What are the rules?" "Just let my daughter go." He waved his hand dismissively. "Oh, she'll be just fine as long as you play nice. The game starts now, you see." A loud bang echoed from downstairs, rattling the walls. The trap she had set. The realization crashed over her like waves. "No!" she shouted, fear electrifying her voice. Panic surged, the intruder below, the unknown threats above. "Time to test your bravery, Sarah," Peter said, his smile still intact. "Make your choice. Will you save her or will you abandon her? The clock is ticking." The air thickened with pressure, suffocating her as she froze, torn. She had to act. "But the next move, remember, every decision has its consequences," Peter taunted. As she stood on the precipice of fear, realization dawned. There was no easy escape. She had invited the darkness in, and now it was playing for keeps. In that moment, she understood, not only was her daughter at risk, but so was her own life. What would she sacrifice to save her? Before she could gather her thoughts, Peter advanced, shadows swirling around him. "Shall we begin?" Sarah's heart pounded. Desperate, she clutched the flashlight tighter, readying herself against the looming terror. What played out next could determine everything. Would she uncover the truth or plunge further into the void? In the silence that followed, she pondered one chilling thought. Could the real monster have been waiting in the shadows all along? The sound of shuffling feet echoed from the darkness below, resonating through the walls like an ominous warning. Sarah's heart raced, pounding rapidly against her ribcage. She couldn't just stand there. She had to make a choice. The trap was set, and the intruder was below. She had to confront both the danger of Peter and the threat lurking beneath the wooden stairs. "Time waits for no one," Peter sneered, his dark eyes gleaming with excitement. "What will it be, Sarah? Choose wisely." Her mind spun like a tornado, instinct screaming at her to save her daughter. She could rush downstairs, try to reach the trap before it was too late. But that would leave Peter free to pursue her. "I'll play your game," she said, desperation striking a chord of strength. "What do you want?" His grin widened, taking on an almost manic quality. "Ah, but it's not just about what I want. It's about what you're willing to sacrifice." "It's not a game," she spat, panic rippling through her voice. "There's too much at stake." "Exactly. And that's what makes it entertaining." He stepped closer, that looming shadow threatening to engulf her. "Listen carefully, Sarah. I have set up a little challenge. You have 10 minutes, to decide what you'll give up. You could save your daughter or save yourself. Stop playing with me," she yelled, searching for a way out. Peter chuckled, leaning back slightly in twisted amusement. "It's all very real. But make sure you understand, I will know if you're lying. You and I will share this moment together, and if you choose wrong." He trailed off, letting the implications hang like a heavy fog. Through the dim light, fear twisted inside her gut as she thought of her little girl. She could not allow her to suffer because of Peter's games, not after everything they'd been through. "Fine, just tell me what to do," Sarah said firmly, breathing through her growing terror. Peter smiled, a predator sizing up his prey. "I want you to find the hidden box I've placed in this house. Inside, you'll find something that means a great deal to you. Retrieve it and bring it to me." "A box?" she echoed, confusion mingling with dread. "Where?" "Ah, but that's part of the fun." He flashed her a grin, one that made her skin crawl. "You must figure it out on your own. You have one clue: start where the darkness meets the light." The word sent shivers down her spine. It felt like a riddle wrapped in a threat. She had to think, to act fast. Her daughter was depending on her, and the thought of her little girl in danger fueled Sarah's resolve. Peter stretched his arms in mock delight. "I can feel your fear growing, like a little flame on the verge of being snuffed out. Make haste, my dear. The clock is ticking." Every second felt like an eternity as she glanced towards the stairs, weighing her options. Downstairs, danger loomed, every heartbeat echoed the urgency of her choice. She could run, but would that truly save her daughter? Deep down, Sarah knew she had to confront the darkness, not just from Peter, but from within. "Nobody is going to die tonight," Sarah shouted defiantly, her voice rising with newfound determination. Peter leaned closer, intrigued. "Oh, how delightful. Then let the real game begin. Find that box or suffer the consequences of your failure." As he stepped back, the shadows tightened around him like a shroud. Sarah turned, feeling the weight of his gaze on her back. She had no time to waste. The ticking clock was a countdown to their fate. With a deep breath, she plunged forward into the depths of her home, searching for something hidden in the corners that might hold the key to her daughter's safety. But what if the true horror lay in the box she sought? What kind of sacrifices would she have to make to save her little girl? The hallway loomed ahead, dimly lit by flickering bulbs, shadows dancing like apparitions. Sarah's pulse thrummed in her ears as she peered into the darkness that swallowed her surroundings. Panic clawed at her throat. She needed to find that box, and fast. "Start where the darkness meets the light," she whispered, her mind racing. Where could that lead? She racked her brain, memories flashing before her: the living room, the kitchen, each room carrying its weight of recent history, of laughter tainted with sorrow. As she turned towards the living room, a chill washed over her. It felt heavier, shadowed with a foreboding she couldn't shake. She stepped inside. The television screen, still displaying static, cast a ghostly hue across the walls. It reminded her of nights spent curled up on the couch with her daughter, sharing stories of heroes and monsters. But those heroic tales felt ill-prepared for the monster stalking her now. Searching quickly, her heart sank. She suddenly felt the weight of despair crushing down on her chest. She couldn't leave her daughter like this, caught in Peter's twisted game. Her thoughts scattered as she sifted through the clutter: a children's drawing pinned to the fridge, a forgotten shoe under the couch, but none of it was what she needed. In a fit of frustration, she threw the couch cushions aside. Nothing. She felt sweat trickle down her back, chilling her. Could the box be hidden under the stairs, a place she often avoided? The thought sent a jolt of terror through her veins, its very essence whispering warnings in her mind. No. She wouldn't let fear dictate her actions. With a firm grip on the banister, she descended the stairs, each creak echoing like a warning. The air was colder here, heavy with secrets. As she neared the bottom, she peered into the dim light, searching for movement but finding only silence. "Where the darkness meets the light," she repeated. Her eyes landed on the corner of the basement, where the thin beam of light from an above window met the engulfing dark. Beyond the drop of shadows, something glinted, a reflection beckoning her closer. With shaky steps, she approached, heart hammering. In the corner, hidden beneath a dusty tarp, was an old box, intricately carved with swirling designs that hinted at something precious. She knelt, pulling the tarp away. The box felt cold against her fingers as she pried it open. Inside, a tangle of forgotten treasures glimmered, a locket, an old doll, snapshots of happier times. But one item pulled her in, a tattered notebook, its pages worn. As she thumbed through it, her breath caught in her throat. It was filled with memories, the loves, the dreams, the hopes she had for her daughter. She skimmed through, gripping the pages tighter as memories flooded back: birthday parties, first days of school, bedtime stories. But then, amid the innocence, she found something darker. Scrawled notes, half-torn pages documenting fears, shouts of anguish echoing back to her. Panic surged within her chest. It felt like a trap designed to ensnare her thoughts and amplify the dread knotted in her gut. "Mommy, please." A voice echoed from above, a distant cry that pierced through her haze, dragging her back to the present. Sarah jolted, the notebook slipping from her grasp as the realization struck like a freight train. Time was running out. She clutched the box tightly, making her choice. Peter was waiting, his game was cruel, twisted. There was no way she'd let him take everything from her without a fight. With renewed strength, she bolted from the basement. As she ran, the shadows seemed to follow, whispering secrets she wasn't ready to face. But no sooner had she reached the top when a figure blocked her path. Peter's malevolent grin twisted like a knife, eyes glinting with cruel anticipation. "Did you find what you were looking for?" he taunted, stepping forward. The final seconds of her time dwindled, each passing moment heavier than the last. "Because it's time to make your sacrifice. What would she have to give up?" Everything hung in the balance, darkness closing in around her. Sarah's breath quickened, dread pooling in her stomach. As she faced Peter, one question loomed larger than the rest: what was she willing to lose for her daughter's safety? And in that moment, she realized some sacrifices could lead to unspeakable horrors. Peter stepped closer, the shadows melding around him like dark smoke, his laughter echoing through the hallway. It was a sound that soaked into Sarah's bones, mingled with the icy dread pooling in her gut. She tightened her grip on the box, heart racing as the fabric of the moment twisted around them. "What's it going to be, Sarah?" "Choose wisely," he sneered, his eyes glistening like shards of glass in the dim light. Instinct screamed at her to flee, but the weight of the box anchored her feet to the floor. Inside was a treasure and a curse, a key to her daughter's future intertwined with Peter's sinister game. "Let her go, Peter," she shouted, feeling desperation seep into her voice. "You don't have to do this." He paused, tilting his head with a mocking curiosity. "Oh, but I do. I thrive on your fear, your pain. It's the sweetest nectar." As he took another step forward, Sarah's heart raced, thoughts colliding in her mind. What could she offer instead? Could this box contain a way to bargain with a monster? Just like a cruel game show, she had to play by his rules. "Please," she pleaded, just tell me what you want." His grin broadened, revealing teeth too sharp for comfort. "That's the spirit. Sacrifices are necessary in my world. But which will you choose?" Her mind raced. The shadows around him flickered eagerly, feeding on her fear. Reaching deep inside, she grasped for clarity, searching the darkness for a spark of that protective love that bound her to her child. "Take me instead." A dark fire ignited in his eyes at her words. "Willing to sacrifice yourself for her? What a delicious twist. Just let her go. I'll do whatever you want." Her voice cracked, but she held her ground. The basement echoed with his chilling laughter, dark and twisted. "Ah, but be careful what you wish. Sometimes, the things we sacrifice can reveal the deepest horrors." Suddenly, the air in the hallway shifted, filling with a thick, rancid energy. Shadows stretched as if alive, curling around Sarah's legs, pulling her into their grip. She gasped, trying to back away, but invisible tendrils tightened around her. "Now, how will this play out?" Peter mused, relishing her struggles as he advanced. He reached into his own pocket, drawing out something small and glinting. "Perhaps you'll find my little token interesting." With a swift flick of his wrist, he tossed the object to her. It landed at her feet with a soft thud, a small silver locket. Instinctively, her heart flipped in recognition. It was the same locket worn by her daughter in photos. "No!" she gasped, lungs constricting. She reached for it, but Peter stepped forward, blocking her path, his shadow swallowing the light. "Ah, ah, ah. Each unworthy misstep has a cost." His voice dripped with contempt. "A mom's love is strong and pure, but can it withstand the price of its darkness?" Without thinking, Sarah lunged for the locket, desperation clawing at her throat as she fought against the shadows gripping her. But as her fingers brushed the metal, the memories exploded inside her: laughter, tears, every moment of joy and pain replaying like a torrent. And then, a low rumble reverberated through the air, shaking the floor beneath her. Peter's laughter faltered, confusion flitting across his face. The shadows around him flickered, a flickering candle's flame before a storm. Fueled by those memories, Sarah yanked the locket from the ground. "I choose my daughter," she yelled, her declaration echoing with a fierce defiance she didn't know she possessed. The locket glowed with a sudden brilliance, illuminating the darkness, sending shockwaves through the room. Peter staggered back, eyes widening. "What have you?" But before he could finish, a blinding flash erupted from the locket, enveloping everything. Sarah's world spun. Shadows began to dissolve, collapsing under the radiant light. But in that moment of clarity, a terrible realization dawned on her: the locket was just as much a beacon as it was a key. A key to something unspeakable. As the light washed over her, Peter's scream pierced the air, the last vestiges of his shadowy figure disintegrating. Then came silence, a deafening pause where her heart beat loudly in her chest, but with the silence came an unsettling emptiness. Where was she? Where was her daughter? Instinctively, Sarah's gaze darted around, desperate for answers. The shadows had retreated but left behind an unsettling void. And just beyond it, a faint whisper echoed a familiar, haunting cry. "Mommy, where are you?" Terror froze her in place. The light dimmed, replaced by the encroaching darkness. And deep down, a chilling question slithered into her mind: what had she unleashed in her desperate bid to save her daughter? The shadows curled closer, the whisper growing louder. Escape hounded her every thought, but darkness was waiting, hungry for the sacrifice yet to come. A thick fog began to crawl through the void where light once bloomed. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as the whisper of her daughter echoed, each syllable drawing her deeper into despair. "Mommy, where are you?" It trailed off into a chilling silence, but the shadows were alive, writhing and pulsating like a heart with a dark secret. Feeling her heart race, Sarah stepped forward, but the floor felt uneven, shifting beneath her like it was alive. The air chilled as if in response to her fear, wrapping around her like a serpent ready to strike. Panic clawed at her chest. "Is anyone there?" She called out, but her voice felt small, swallowed by the oppressive darkness. And then, she saw it, a flicker amidst the shadow, a silhouette dancing just beyond her reach. "Ellie!" she shouted, desperation cracking her voice. The figure twirled away, fading into the depths with a haunting giggle that sent chills racing down her spine. The darkness stirred, morphing into shapes that twisted and warped, eyes glowing endless, watching. She felt swallowed by the cold hunger of the void, as if it were a creature savoring the hope that had led her into this nightmare. Straining against the shadows, she pulled herself forward, each step feeling heavier as shadows clung to her, insidious fingers clawing at her sanity. "Mommy! Help me!" The voice rang out clearer now, soaked in terror. It was Ellie. Hope ignited like a match in the dark, but alongside it came the overwhelming realization that she was not alone. Something sinister lurked just beyond her line of vision, patient and hungry. "Ellie!" she called again, fear intertwining with urgency. But the darkness twisted again, distorting the dimensions of reality as if to mock her, wrapping her in its chill embrace. "I'm coming!" she yelled, but her own weakness echoed back, taunting, drawing on every ounce of courage left inside her. Sarah pressed on. The locket pulsed faintly in her pocket, a heartbeat drowned in darkness. She reached for it, the cool metal urging her on. As her fingers grasped it, the shadows quaked, momentarily retreating in fear. Was it a weapon or a curse? She had yet to find out. Suddenly, another burst of laughter erupted, splintering the darkness and freezing Sarah in her tracks. It wasn't Les laughter, it was something else, something older, ancient. The shadows converged once again, swirling like a storm. A figure began to emerge, skin glistening like ice-cold glass against the void, eyes like deep wells of despair that dragged her into depths she never wanted to explore. Leaving so soon? Peter's shadow hung above her, the remnants of his twisted grin reappearing with a grotesque malice. "What's the matter, Sarah? Didn't you want to play?" Rage surged through her, fueling her with an unexpected clarity. No matter the horrors she faced, she would not give in. "Where is she? What have you done with my daughter?" "Nothing yet," he sneered, arching an eyebrow. "But the game is not over. You've merely exchanged one darkness for another." Sudden realization hit her. The air tingled with a sinister energy. She could feel it crawling under her skin. With a sharp intake of breath, she clutched the locket tighter. "I choose," but before she could finish, the ground roared to life, jagged cracks snaking across the floor. Sarah felt herself teetering, the very fabric of this dark reality unraveling as another scream echoed in the void. "Mommy!" It was Ellie's voice, a desperate plea mixed with a sob. "Hold on, Ellie!" Sarah screamed, racing into the chaos. Whatever darkness was waiting, she would face it. But as she charged forward, a phantom grasp held her back, shackling her to the shadows. "Release her!" she shouted, desperation clawing at her throat as she turned back to Peter, who now flickered in and out, grotesque and menacing. But her words fell into the abyss. The shadows roared, and in a surge of insatiable hunger, they enveloped her, pulling her into their ravenous depths. Would she ever see her daughter again? As darkness closed in, she felt the locket pulse, unleashing a blaze of light within. The void. But she had no idea how far its reach would extend or what it would awaken. The last vestiges of her courage began to wane as the shadows whispered promises of despair. Just when she thought she would lose herself completely, a flicker caught her eye. A glimpse of Ellie, beyond a veil of shadows, still crying out. How could Sarah save her when she was trapped in her own nightmare? The darkness swallowed Sarah whole, a consuming tide that seemed intent on pulling her under. The locket pulsed, its light pushing back against the shadows, illuminating fleeting glimpses of what lay hidden. She glimpsed the floor sagging, shifting, as if beneath was a pit of restless souls. Each breath she took felt heavier, cold and tainted by despair. "Mommy!" Ellie's voice echoed, a beacon amid the chaos. With renewed determination, Sarah sprinted forward, her feet pounding against the warped ground. The shadows shrieked, cutting through the air like razor blades, but she would not retreat. She had to reach her daughter. Just ahead, she spotted a flicker of light, fragile yet persistent. It emanated from the locket. A silvery shield against the inky abyss, its glow wrapped around her like a lifeline. But the shadows lurked with malice, drawing closer, biting at her heels, whispering venomous words that echoed deep in her thoughts. "You'll never be free," they hissed. "Your child is lost, just like you." "Shut up!" she screamed, clawing her way through the thickening darkness. It felt alive, pulsing, breathing. The laughter grew louder, a cacophony of denials and mockery, thickening the air around her almost to a palpable substance. "Face it, Sarah." Peter's shadow loomed large, grotesque and distorted. "You can't save her. The deeper you go, the less you'll see of her." With a defiant roar, she tightened her grip on the locket, and the glow intensified, revealing faces contorted in agony, trapped within the very darkness that threatened to consume her. The souls reached out, their hands transparent yet desperate, but she tore her gaze away. She would not succumb to their terror. The laughter faded momentarily, replaced by a low hum that vibrated through the air. The darkness shifted violently, writhing like a serpent in a frenzy. The locket's light created a path, but flickering shadows blotted it out, trying to lead her astray. "Ellie!" she called, her voice echoing back tainted with her own desperation. The shadows had a grip on her thoughts, threatening to drown her in fear. "I'm coming." The ground roared once more, casting her forward. She tumbled, scraping her palms against the rough surfaces, but didn't stop. She had to keep moving. As she scrambled to her feet, she saw her. Ellie, partly illuminated, her little form weeping amidst the darkness, reaching out with trembling arms. "Mommy! Mommy, please!" But just as Sarah surged forward, a monstrous figure emerged, looming over Ellie, dark tendrils winding around her. The silhouette stretched, suffocating the light, and Sarah felt her stomach drop. The world around her twisted, creating grotesque faces within the shadows, their mouths carved into wide grins, feasting on her fear. "No! Let her go!" Sarah's voice cracked, booming against the darkness, but it was as if the shadows mocked her, thickening, closing around her until the air felt heavy and toxic. "Time to end this game, Sarah," Peter's voice slithered through the suffocating fog. "You were never meant to save her." In that heart-stopping moment, Sarah's reality fractured. A choice loomed before her like a cruel joke. The locket flickered in her grip, a heartbeat that echoed her own panic. "What will you sacrifice?" The darkness taunted, the shadows tightened around her, fraying her last threads of sanity. Yet amidst the terror, a tiny glimmer of resolve sparked within. Whatever the void demanded, she had to find a way to get Ellie back. Determined, Sarah focused on the light, willing it to expand, to vanquish the darkness that sought to trap her. "Ellie, hold on!" she shouted, the ground beneath them shifting perilously again as she fought against the tide, a tide that felt colder, hungrier than before, but then, the darkness stirred in response. A deeper, more sinister voice emerged, blending with the shadows, whispering promises of despair. "You could join her." And just then, the ground trembled violently, breaking apart into 1,000 pieces. The world split and Sarah fell, the darkness spiraling, trying to pull her down into oblivion. Would that final plunge bring her to Ellie or to an endless nightmare? The shadows pulled tighter, and just as she thought she couldn't hold on, the locket flared with blinding light, exposing a path forward. Would it lead her to salvation or deeper into the abyss? The blinding light radiated from the locket, consuming everything in its path. Sarah felt its warmth slice through the icy grip of despair, and with it, a sudden burst of adrenaline surged through her veins. "Focus," she told herself. Ellie was counting on her. As the light expanded, pushing back against the dark, she stumbled toward her daughter, propelled by sheer will. But just as she thought she'd reach her, the darkness retaliated, a howling wind that snatched at her. Shadows morphed into clawed hands that dragged at her clothes, intent on pulling her back into their inky depths. "Don't let go," she panted, clawing through the air, but chaos swirled around her like a tempest. "Mommy! Please!" The cry rang out, heartbreaking, fueled by sheer terror. Sarah's heart tore open wider with every second that slipped away. She couldn't let the shadows take her baby. Not again. With a final heave, she lunged forward, the luminous glow from the locket guiding her sight. The moment she broke the barrier of darkness, it felt like breaking free from thick chains. There was Ellie, her face smudged with dirt and tears, eyes wide with fear amid the swirling blackness, and in this brief moment, the connection between them felt unbreakable, but the dark figure loomed over Ellie, its form shifting in and out of visibility, a grotesque parody of humanity. As Sarah instinctively reached for her, tendrils shot through the space between, wrapping around Ellie, squeezing tightly. "No! Mommy!" Ellie shrieked, the sound rising in pitch, cutting into Sarah's very soul. The locket pulsed with a frantic rhythm now, each beat resonating through her, flooding her with a desperate mix of love and fury. Get away from her. With primal force, she thrust the locket forward. The light exploded like 1,000 suns igniting, the shadows recoiled as the brilliance chased away the dark. Faces erupted from the void, their gnarled mouths wailing and screaming, but Sarah pushed on, motivated by love's blind power. "I'll do anything," she screamed at the abyss. The locket brightened, and for a breathless moment, it seemed to hold back the tide. Ellie fell limp as the tendrils released her in surprise, floating backward. The darkness warred fiercely around them, although it wouldn't be enough to win against Sarah's fierce resolve. Yet, the clarity was fleeting, as a new sensation crept in. A chilling whisper slithered through the air, curling around her like smoke. "What will you sacrifice for her?" "Shut up!" she yelled, the shadows erupting in a chorus of mocking laughter. Their voices were 1,000 knives slicing into her psyche. Sarah's resolve began to wobble, doubt gnawing at her from the inside. What could she possibly give that was worth saving her daughter? With each pulse of the locket, the visions of the souls trapped in the dark flickered back into her mind. She could hear their cries of despair rising and crashing against her fortitude like waves. "You cannot save her without losing yourself." Peter's voice cut through, a horrifying reminder of the past her husband lost but never truly gone. An icy dread seeped into Sarah's heart. The more she fought, the more the darkness tightened its grip, and deep within, seeds of fear began sprouting. With a glance over her shoulder, she saw the swirling chaos once more, and Ellie, innocent and scared, waiting. "Sarah, don't leave me, I want tea," she shouted, determination reigniting. "I will find a way." Yet, even as the words left her lips, the ground started to tremble. It splintered once more, the bottom dropping out beneath her, revealing an endless chasm swirling below. "Choose, Sarah," the shadows hissed. "Would you trade your freedom for hers? Or should you face eternal darkness alone?" And then, Sarah felt the light flickering. The locket dimmed for the first time, and she could feel the weight of the ultimatum crushing her. Time was running out. What would she give to save Ellie? What did that truly mean? In that heart-pounding moment, the choice lay before her like an open wound. Could she bear the sacrifice, knowing that something precious, something irretrievable, might be the cost of saving her daughter? Sarah closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and readied herself for whatever lay ahead. The shadows stood ominous, waiting to devour her. Would she take the plunge, unleashing something darker in the process? Suddenly, laughter erupted again, echoing off the walls. "The game is just beginning, Sarah." What had she unleashed? The world around Sarah was crumbling. The shadows thrashed like enraged beasts, swirling and snapping at her heels, hungry for her light, for her will. But the thought of Ellie's frightened face fueled her resolve, enveloping her in warmth even in the cold embrace of darkness. "Ellie! Hold on," she shouted, pushing against the chaos, clawing her way through the void that threatened to pull her under. Every heartbeat reverberated with urgency, and she focused on that light, the locket pulsing with an almost ethereal glow, the only beacon salvaging her inner strength. "Remember, little flame," Peter's voice boomed around her, thick with malice and mockery. "Light is just as easily extinguished. I'm not afraid of you." The words spilled out, a defiance carved from her desperation. Each pulse of the locket filled her with fleeting hope. Silence hung thick, then the ground trembled once more, sending shards of darkness swirling. "What will you sacrifice?" The shadows hissed, 1,000 pointed questions echoing in the void. Sarah's thoughts raced. What could she offer? In that moment of piercing clarity, she grasped the locket firmly, feeling its warmth pulse against her palm. Without thinking, she screamed, "I'll trade my happiness, my memories, for my daughter." A moment of silence ensued. The shadows recoiled, whispering in disbelief. She felt the energy shift. Perhaps this was the key. TSK, Peter frowned, stepping closer, an eerie confidence emanating from him. "But can you truly bear to lose everything that makes you, you?" "Anything," she cried, her heart pounding. She thought of her past, the laughter, the days filled with love, the dreams woven together with her daughter. "Take it all. As long as she is safe." Then came a deep rumble, like thunder cracking the very foundation of their nightmarish world. The shadows shivered, and for a fleeting moment, the darkness peeled away. "Step forward, then," Peter bellowed, a sinister grin spreading across his face. "Let us see how much you truly value your child." In her gut, she knew this wasn't just a game. It was a test. One final flick of the locket showered her in light, illuminating the horror lurking just beyond, revealing a multitude of anguished faces trapped in the ether. Souls tethered to their own regrets and fears, twisted in pain. They were the remnants of sacrifices made long ago. "Ellie!" she shouted, visions of her daughter swirling among the tormented souls in her mind. Fueled by a mother's love, she barely noticed the encroaching darkness, pushing through as the shadows writhed, grasping at her feet. She felt the heavy pull of despair, but wouldn't let it anchor her down. "I am not your plaything," she bellowed, determination carving her path as she rushed straight into the heart of the abyss, guided by the beacon of the locket. As she moved deeper, energy crackling with immense power enveloped her, fierce clarity shining through the chaos. Every ounce of fear twisted, burning away, forging strength from the shadows. Her conviction melded with the locket's brilliance, igniting a fiery shield against Peter's commanding presence. It was time to reclaim her light, the power that had been buried under layers of doubt. "Ellie! I'm coming!" she howled, thrumming through the dark, until in the distance, she saw a flicker of light, the purest form of love, a guiding glow drawing her closer. "Mommy!" Ellie cried out, echoing through the distortion of shadows. In a flash of unleashed energy, the barrier holding Ellie shattered like glass, bursts of light sharp and electric. Sarah lunged, the locket pulling her, ignited by a fiercer love, the kind that defies even the darkest shadows. In that moment, the light enveloped them both, pushing away the grotesque shapes of despair. "No!" Peter's scream sliced through the air, twisting into an anguished roar, but it was too late. As light engulfed them, the darkness retreated, yielding to the truth of their bond. They clung to each other, warmth radiating through the chaos. "I've got you, Ellie." Sarah exhaled, tears streaming, feeling the snap of chains. Binding them loosen until they emerged, bathed in light. Safe, standing in the remnants of their home, nothing but shadows left behind where the grotesque horror had once lingered. "Mama!" Ellie whispered, reaching up. Sarah knelt, wrapping her arms around her, breathing in the reality of her little girl, no longer lost. "We're safe, love." "We did it," Sarah whispered, holding her daughter tightly, heart overflowing with relief. "We beat him." As they sat in stillness, dawn creeping through the curtains, the echoes of the night faded, leaving just existing warmth. No more nightmares, no more shadows. Only the promise of healing. As sun rays poured in, Sarah glanced at the locket, gently worn yet glowing softly with remnants of the battle they had fought. It held the truth of their experience, a reminder of the ultimate sacrifice made in the name of love, and as the light filled their world, she understood truly, the ties that bind were stronger than anything that sought to tear them apart. She would never again let fear dictate her life. This was their ending, but it was just the beginning of a new chapter. This is your call to action. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will take you through the heart of every thrilling moment. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, because it really makes a difference. And don't forget to flood the comments section, share your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. Let us see who truly understands the importance of this journey. Lastly, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this conclusion. Help spread the thrill, because the adventure continues with your support.